sometimes we be looking like that when nobody's watching. Sometimes maybe you let your guard down, and when you're your thoughts during those times when nobody's looking are the most important. Everybody has that facade. Everybody tries to put up a different face when people are around. It's a natural cause. We all have pride. That's why we do it. We all have pride, and that's why people try and act a certain way around different people. And so, when you're on your own, sometimes it's just easy to be negative. Sometimes it's easy to just stoop down and just slump over and just hunch over and be like, oh, man, life sucks. And then you just see someone walk by, I'm not going to flag them down because I'm just, life. But if you notice, when Bobby's out at the tent, in the way he describes it, I've actually seen it. He's not lying. Sometimes he's a little more energetic out at the tent than he shows here because he's so into that moment. And guess what? Because he's working so hard and because he is so positive, the day goes by quick. Mm-hmm. You hear him talk about working 12, 14-hour days, and he makes it sound like it's nothing. He makes it sound like it's nothing. It's because he's going hard the whole time. But he practiced that. It's not like he had that right out the gate. He's done sales for 20, 30 years. Some of you here have done sales for that long, or have done customer service or other jobs for a long period of time. Some of you have had to work 2 full-time jobs at a time, double shifts, overtime, night shifts. We all have different experiences. But he practiced that. He practiced his craft. And that was being positive the whole day for over a long period of time. Maybe it only did start with 6 or 8 hours. Maybe that's where you got to start. Maybe you find yourself being more negative than positive. Try and switch the balance. So maybe you're up for 18 hours in a day and you're negative 10 hours, positive the other 8. Try and switch that. Make it 10 hours positive, 8 hours negative, and just dwindle down. Now eventually it'll become 12 hours, 6 hours, and so on. It's a gradual growth process. He practiced being positive the whole day. He wasn't just stuck in negativity. And it's easy to be stuck in that. And it's easy to get caught in that downward spiral. And so it is a grind to get back up. Sometimes for some people, it's instant. They can instantly flip a switch and just change all their thoughts and emotions for the whole day and be positive for the rest of their life. They can have that on and off switch. Not everybody has that. Maybe you do have to have that gradual growth. Maybe you do need to take it a little more slow. That's what growth's about. Growing is not a quick process. It's a very slow, painful process. Anybody that goes to the gym, anybody here who has grown, we're all grown up, so we definitely are. We definitely have grown. You know it's been a tough time. Life has not been easy. When you think things are going good, something comes up, an obstacle comes up, or something bad happens in your family, or now you're getting kicked out because the landlord doesn't want to rent their apartment or house anymore. I don't know. There's so many different bad things could happen. Your kid could get kicked out of school. I don't know. So many different bad things can happen in your life. But it's ultimately your choice to choose how to respond to that. Just like how Alex and Mike were talking about responsibility. It's the ability to respond. How are you choosing to respond to everyday things, whether they're big or small? How are you choosing to respond when nobody's watching? What are you thinking about when nobody's watching? Those are the most important times. The way you think has a definite effect on how you feel. So if you feel like you're negative all the time, change your thoughts. Just like how we have this quote next to Bobby's desk. It might be a little hard to see because of this right now. But I'm going to move this real quick. Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. What we think is what we become. Like I said, it has a definite effect on how you feel and who you become. So if you feel like you're negative all the time, or somebody points out to you, hey, you seem down today, or hey, what's going on? I've noticed a change in you. Sometimes that change could be positive. Maybe you did flip that switch and you are growing to be more positive. Or you just had something happen in your life that made you want to be negative. There's so many different things. The enemy's always on attack. You're always going to have negative thoughts. And people just realize sometimes that's not your own thoughts. The devil can't know what you're thinking, but it can. The devil has been around for thousands of years. They know human patterns. They know human wants. And so if you think you can outsmart or be more wise than the devil, think again. They can make you think different things that aren't you. Sometimes they'll have an evil thought like, that's not me. That's not who I am. You might call it an intrusive thought or something like that, but sometimes you gotta be on guard. Like I was saying the other day, you gotta be on guard with your thoughts. What's up?
The summation of what he's saying is very simply is if you think you can or you can't, you're right. 10 words. If you think you can or you can't, you're right. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you won't. You can't. You got to pay careful attention to stinking thinking. You got to pay careful attention to things you say. You got to pay careful attention to things to think.
You got a lot of that.
You got to pay careful attention to how you allow others to speak to you. You got to pay careful attention that if you've been in some rough roads and your circle of friends and such is still in those roads and down those highways and you're on a different path, be careful, be aware, that usually they really don't want you to rise above. And there's too much of a contrast, makes them look bad, right? So even though they often will say they're for you, and they say they're on your side, and they say, I got your back, it often is not true. You have to pay a lot more attention to what people do than what they say. A lot more attention to what people do than what they say. So a lot of the whole assimilation of that line of thinking is that every once in a while you have to have some alone time. That's why prayer or meditation is good. You're there just by yourself, wherever it is. If you have to go out and sit in your car with the air conditioning on and do that, to be alone and quiet, you need to do that. You must take some time every day just to be with you, because quiet time is where you get those messages. That's where you get the messages from above and beside and everything that are positive. It's also when you clear on maybe reassessing your day, toward the end of the day, and think about your encounters with people, and think about behavior of us and how they're interacting with you. I have some people in my family that are now clean, and they weren't for a lot of years. But now the ones who were allegedly for their recovery, they probably really aren't. They're threatened by it because, in fact, it's my daughter. It's my daughter, and she's 41 days clean today, and she was on. She'd been doing a variety of drugs, mostly meth, since she was 14. She'll be 49 in a week or so, a couple of weeks, don't longer than that, but anyway, don't tell her I told you. But nonetheless, I'm getting my daughter back. It's just amazing how much different it is having her clean, and how much she's celebrating victories. She's celebrating. She's starting to sleep normal, right? She sleeps at night. Imagine that, just like God told us to do, right? That circadian, whatever it is, the rhythm, or getting the good quality sleep and that sort of thing. It's just such a huge difference. But I see, like in her instance of people who have been supportive, allegedly, in her rising above, they see her daily victories, and even though they are clean too, this other person, it's becoming a lot more apparent and especially to my daughter, that this person really doesn't want her to like stop doing meth because he had control over better when she has a poor self-image, right? When she doesn't like herself, when she feels less than normal, right? Or less than perfect, and now that she's gaining strength day by day, and her whole life is just changing dramatically. And her relationships with her father and others in her life is just blooming, So you got to be real careful, this person still wants to take her over to places where, despite she and her friend being drug-free, the place he wants to take them, they're still doing the drugs.
Right.
That's kind of like taking an alcoholic to happy hour, right? Drinks are a quarter. All you can drink, right? How long are they going to stay sober, right? It's just stupid. It's stupid. So there again, I look at that as more like what I said about paying more attention to what people do than what they say. They talk the talk, but do they walk the walk? Right? So that's really important. So for those of you that are celebrating your sobriety, I applaud you heavily and heartily and whatever, enthusiastically. Anyway, so he's ready to take the mic back, so I'm gonna give it back to him. Thank you, but just go get him. Stay on track. Many years ago, when I had a different daughter that was in elementary school, like probably 4th, 5th grade or something. We lived in Fountain Hills, and every morning we had this little mantra today. We say, "What are you going to do today?" She said, "I'm going to stay on track. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to stay on track, and I'm going to do my very, very best."
Yeah.
So if you pay attention, stay on track. If you get off the track, get back on it, and do your very, very best, and you will prevail.
All right. I want to add to a few things he said and that James and Angel were saying earlier. So he's talking about people around you will talk the talk, walk the walk, and how that person that was giving your daughter meth was trying to take her back to those bad people, to the people that were encouraging her bad habits. I wouldn't necessarily call them bad people, but they were encouraging her to go down a bad path.
You can do it one more time, just
Yeah.
one time's sake, right?
Just one, I know, right? You're too good now, or what's going on? Like, just one more time, doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. We've all heard stories about that. But that's what James was touching on. He says, surround yourself with good people. So when she was surrounding herself with bad people, she had those negative thoughts about herself. She was doing those bad habits that they were encouraging. But let's say she did the opposite. Let's say she did end up detaching herself from those people.
How you do it?
That's one way. That's step one. The next step is to surround yourself with people who are sober, or people who have gone through the same thing, or are trying to get sober.
Yep.
And that'll help you guys encourage each other and keep each other accountable. Accountability is very important. But that positive atmosphere will make you realize, wow, I was making some dumb decisions. That wasn't the right choice. I can see clearly now. And so, yeah, I can't sing. I might have to turn off the mic. And so, part of the message today is, how do you have constant energy? How do you do those long hours? How do you work harder? How do you improve yourself? Well, part of it is staying positive, but you also have to be connected to that positivity. You know how like our machines and our city runs on a power supply? They have to constantly be connected to that power supply to work, to function.
Right.
So, I'm not saying we're machines, but we are human. We do need energy. So rest is important, but so is being connected to God, or staying positive. And one way to be connected is, like he was saying, meditating, praying, just separating yourself from the city. The city has lots of noise all these different things, cars buzzing by, airplanes, helicopters, people talking, parties, so many different distractions. Sometimes you just need to go to a silent place, whether it's in a park. For my father, it's the Grand Canyon. Other people, it's in a library. I don't know. I don't know where your happy place is, but find it. And that during that time, just clear your mind and just fill it with positivity. Just filter out all the bad thoughts you were having for that day or during that hour, and just refill it with positivity. That'll give you that peace of mind. But you have to constantly be connected to that. You can't just do that once a week or once a day. Sometimes you gotta do that multiple times a day. You gotta take those couple breaks. Maybe that's something you need to implement. If you're gonna try and be a workaholic, may as well find a routine and a system that'll help support you going into you overworking yourself. One way, and God is the source of life. In the beginning, there was God. There was life. He created everything. He is the source of life. He's the source of energy. So if you're not constantly connected to that, of course, no wonder why you're feeling negative. No wonder why you're feeling drained and feel like life is dull and meaningless.
You're lacking power.
You're lacking power. You're not connected to that source. And so when you are disobedient and when you're not following Christ, you're unplugging yourself from that power. You're detaching yourself. It's super important to constantly be plugged in and to reevaluate. Maintenance breaks. With systems like this, there's constant maintenance. They have to make sure the power grids stay on point. You got to make sure you're on point. And so you got to be constantly connected and constantly reevaluating, making sure things are going good. And part of keeping that high energy is staying interested. Let's say life is dull for you. Maybe you lost interest. Find something that interests you at this job. Maybe you find this job to become dull over time. Maybe the spark that made you want to start this dwindled away. How do you reignite it? Well, find it. Maybe you need to find a different spark or think, why did I choose this job? Why did I choose to be here? And just focus on that. Because if life's dull, it's easy to be negative. It's easy to be just slouched over on the couch like, should I go to work yet? It's noon. Alex already got 20 sales. What do I haven't even got one yet. Maybe I should just stay here the whole day. I don't know. Or you can get up and go to work. But you need to find that interest. You need to find what interests you, because if you're interested, it won't feel so dull. That's one of the things I talk about during training when I train someone is when you're out and you want to work long, hard hours, have a good time. Have a good time with your customers. Have a good time with them, because when you have that, the day will go by so quickly. You'll realize it's the end of the day and you thought it just started, because you're constantly connected to that power source. You're constantly interested. When it's dull, those long hours feel so much more draining. What's up, Bob? Sorry.
I don't need the mic. I have a question for you. If you went into a swimming pool for an hour and you got out, what would people say you smell like?
Chlorine.
Hopefully. Hopefully it's more green than yellow. If you went into a hookah lounge for a couple of hours during their happy hour, and you came out, what would you smell like?
Hookah.
Okay. So why do you smell like that?
You were around
Because
it.
you absorb your environment?
Hey.
Well, I've told you this a number of times, and you need to continue to think about this, and that is that you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
You are the sum total. 20%, whatever. 20% comes from that person, 20%. I'm sure you could say 7 people or whatever, but bottom line, your environment influences you, whether it's airborne or through liquid or through thought. Or just the way they look at you, the way they talk to you. You got to pay careful attention to that. Because that's just a fact. You become your environment, right? It's not like you are so strong that these 5 people who were all losers hanging with you are going to be a winner after a week or so, right? it's more likely they're ganging up on you, even not knowingly. But if they're all negative and you're positive, boy, you got a rough road. You got a rough road. So pay careful attention to those you hang with. I'm not saying if your mother, your lover, or your son talks crap to you that's negative, I'm not saying you should dump them, but maybe you could monitor what they tell you, or if they're telling you a whole line of crummy crap that you really don't want to hear, you could stop them mid-sentence. You know, I mean, growing up, I remember of this saying, and perhaps you've heard of this. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. That's bull, right? If I break an arm or a nose or whatever, it'll heal. If somebody cuts deep into my psyche with their words, behavior, the way they treat me, it's long lasting. Maya Angelou, if you know who she was, she said it's on one of these quotes around here somewhere. She said, I may forget what you said to me, I will never forget how you made me feel. Right? It's a scar. It's a scar that could never be healed. Well, just know that people's negative things, how they're interacting with you, their words or actions, or just their demeanor, or dismissiveness, or giving you the cold shoulder, or encouraging you to like, oh, come on, you can just do it with us one more time. We've been it together for years. Do it just one time for old time's sake. Wait, those people are poison to you, and you gotta look at that. That's the truth. So be careful who you hang with. Be careful how you let others influence with you, and take a hard look that you think about during your meditating time. And who are the 5 people, or maybe there's 7 that are with you regularly, and go through in your own self. You don't even have to share that you're doing this. This is for you. This is for you. You take a hard look at the group, the numbers, those you spend the most time with, or on the phone with, or texting with, or whatever, and take a hard look at that and come to a conclusion. Is this good for me? Is this positive? Are they really on my side? That, and if they aren't, then do something to at least minimize that. Right? If you're with them commonly 4 hours a week, maybe you meet them a little bit and allow them to be with you 2 hours a week. And then, as you minimize that, you'll see you're rising up, right? It's just like a snake, Get rid of the negativity and the positive growth.
Thank you, Bob. I love listening to Bob. He has so much wisdom.
Yeah, he does.
He has so much wisdom. I'm nowhere near that yet. I got lots of knowledge. I'm still young. I'm still learning.
How old are you?
22.
Hey, Remy.
And we're all still learning. It's not just me. It's not just Bob. Bob's still learning. I know that for a fact. I've seen Bob change since he was first with us. When I first met him, I think he's gotten a much better positive aura around him, like even bigger than it was before. It's increased. So shout out to Bob.
Yeah, Bob. What about Bob?
I'd want to touch on something Angel was saying earlier, though. How those customers he was talking about said, you talk to us like we're normal people. Well, part of that is because he not only respects them, but he loves everyone. The world tells us to love your friends, hate your enemies. But Jesus commanded us to love your enemies. Jesus commanded us to love everyone, no matter who they are, where they come from, whether they're noble, rich, poor, disabled, he told us to love everyone as if they were ourselves. And that's part of what Angel's doing. That's what he was showing, that respect and that love that he has for others. That's how he wanted to be treated. So he was showing that to others as well. So there's this really good quote that I stumbled across the other day. Hate has 4 letters, so does love. Enemies has 7 letters, so does friends.
Dang.
Lying has 5 letters, so does truth.
Right.
Failure has 7 letters, so does success. Pride has 3 letters, so does joy. negativity has 10 letters, and so does positivity. Life is a series of choices. At the end of the day, you can reevaluate, like he's talking about, what choices did you make? How did you respond to those different situations? He was talking about surround yourself with good people because you're absorbing that. So if you're surrounding yourself with negative people, of course you're going to absorb negativity. But when you're surrounding yourself with positive people, that's why you find yourself being more positive. That's part of why people are here. We are a body. We are synergized together. We are a company. We are unified. If you read our Google reviews, people talk about us like a family. And as you know, a family is unified. There's different roles, different parts of that family. We have different roles. Whether it's in leadership, whether it's in contracting, whether it's in the office, whether it's out in the field, we have different roles. We're all representing the same company though. We're all still unified. That's why we talk heavily about compliance, heavily about loyalty, heavily about integrity, heavily about trust, and all these different things, all these different principles that are super important to life. That's why we also talk about accountability. And so compliance, we've gone over that a million times. And it first started with training and all that. Just remember, at the end of the day, we're all independent contractors. As long as you're doing things right, you really shouldn't worry about how other people are doing it. You need to worry about yourself sometimes. You don't need to worry about other people. Don't get caught up in what other people are doing. Because when you do that, and when you're trying to judge others, you're going to try to find a reason to be negative. It's our human nature to tear other people down. It's our human nature to build ourselves up, even if it's false. It's our human nature to do the wrong thing, even though we know what's right. So I just want to talk about compliance. Like, just worry. Sometimes, as long as you're doing things right, you have nothing to worry about. Don't be worried about what other people are posting in chat sometimes. It might not be your job. But the first thing to do is confront that person in a professional and mature way. Confront that person in a mature way because we are a family. Whenever a house is divided, it gets torn apart. We've all heard that. We've all heard that. A house divided cannot stand. So we have to be unified. That's what that synergy is about. So if something comes up, it has to be torn up and taken care of immediately. We can't just let gossip build up. If gossip builds up, it's like a game of telephone. Maybe it was one small criticism, but that small criticism, if it wasn't true and had any ounce of false, if it goes down the line of people, it could explode into something way more negative than it actually was. You got to think about that. And just think about with compliance, it's not just what's best for you, it's what's best for the company. If we do have that synergy, if we are a family, every decision you make, every choice you do out in the field does not just affect you, it affects everyone. And that's super important. You got to understand. And that's why we need to hold each other accountable. And that's why I was talking about take those weeds out right away. Don't let it build up. Don't let it fester. If you ever had to I've had to do it, weed a really big garden or a big yard because I was lazy and I didn't take care of it immediately, the work became so much harder. It's the same within our lives. If you let negativity or something fester for too long, it grows so big and so challenging that it's even harder to uproot because you let it last for so long. But when you take care of it immediately, it's not so bad. A little weed is pretty easy to pull, but a bunch of big weed sucks. We all know that. I'm pretty sure we've all gone through that. And positivity is just upkeep in that garden.
I have something to say when you're done.
You have some?
Yeah.
So today, since we're talking about respect, I was highly disrespectful towards someone. And I love everybody here from the bottom of my heart, and I only want to see everyone succeed.
Yes.
And so I just want to publicly say that I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful. And just like John's talking on, I just want us to do good and be right, and do it for all the right reasons. I love everybody here, and I'm sorry.
Raise your hand if you're on target to hit that end of week goal you made.
I am.
All right, I saw about 5 hands raised. All right, but that's okay. That's just gonna light a fire under your seat. You're gonna have to work harder. But don't be negative, like, oh man, I've slid back this week. I'm not hitting the goal. Well, you still can. There's still time left. There's still plenty of time left. You got until next week. You got until Sunday to finish your goal. So you got plenty of time. Don't just think, oh, these last 2 days were bad. You could have, the rest of your week could be good. Like Angel was talking about, the law of averages. Even though you might have 2 bad days, what if you had a bunch of good days to make up for that? Sales is like that. So you can't expect sales to be a consistent job. That's why we talk about it. Don't compare it to a regular 9-to-5 job. Compare it to your production. Compare it to your, not just your day-by-day production, but your weekly production, your monthly production. That's what he was talking about. It's super important to have those weekly goals. So a lot of people have daily planners, and those are good. But I really like the weekly planners because you're planning your week ahead. You're like, okay, what big decisions do I have to make on Monday? What about Tuesday, Wednesday? Okay, where am I going to set up? Do I have any events planned? Should I spend some time planning some events? There's so many, if you're organizing your week by week, it'll completely impact it. You're not worrying day by day, scrambling to figure out what to do because you already have a plan. You already have a plan in set. And I know sometimes plans don't go as you plan. It happens. Plans sometimes aren't 100%. Sometimes they do fail. So maybe have a backup plan or have an idea of what you can do if something does go wrong. Always have a backup. And so a couple more things I want to talk about is being proactive. So just responding to things immediately. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like, don't let things fester. But even when something bad happens, like I was saying the other week, obstacles are an illusion of fear. So if you get kicked out, or if you're having trouble with running orders, or there's a system issue, whatever it may be, don't let fear cloud your mind. Don't let it cloud your judgment. Don't let it affect you. Be positive and think, okay, this is my environment. Don't completely let your environment dictate what you do. You don't want to be reactive to life. You want to be proactive. Not only prepare for if something bad happens, but be prepared to respond. That's part of being proactive, is being ready to respond, even if it's something you don't expect. Just be prepared to respond the right way. A lot of us know what the right thing is to do, but all of us has that childish behavior to push the line, to push those boundaries and be like, maybe it's procrastinating, or maybe it's maybe next time, or I'm not going to do it today. Why not today? Why put it off tomorrow? Why not do it today? Today is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Nice.
And creativity. Being creative is super awesome because that's something the current education system doesn't encourage. I remember being a kid, I was creative all the time. I want to do this, do that, go on adventures, go outside, and then it just died over time. I didn't know why. It's because the current education system doesn't have room for it. It's all these strict guidelines. So you gotta find ways to be creative. Find what does interest you. Like I was talking about earlier, find what interests you. Maybe it is being creative, finding a new way to do business. Or finding a different way to run your tent. Maybe it's change your setup. Maybe instead of doing 1 or 2 signs, now you got 3 signs. Or maybe instead of doing the tent all the time, maybe you're mobile or going door to door. Or maybe you've never set up an event and you want to be like, okay, I'm going to try that and I'm going to get better at it. You got to practice those things. You can think of something brand new that no one's ever thought about. Because in this job, most agents, the first thought they have, other offices and agents here have thought about it already. So you got to dig deeper. To be creative, you got to dig deeper. You're like, okay, well, someone else has probably thought about that. So what's another idea? And just keep brainstorming different ideas and figure out, okay, I don't think anybody's done this before, or they have, very few people have done it. But I also think, did they do it successfully? If someone did think of that, did they do it correctly? Because you know how to do things correctly. You need to have some of that self-confidence. you need not pride. You don't want to be egotistical, but you need to have that self-confidence. Like, hey, I don't know if they did it correctly, but I know I can. This is a good idea, and I'm going to try it out.
You've all heard the term repeatedly here about the truth will set you free. I'm going to tell you the truth that will set you free. And that is, we have to be aware of things, of misconceptions. And one misconception that a lot of people have is that they can make up for it tomorrow, right? You know, it's raining, it's chilly, it's hot, Tuesday, whatever the excuse is where you might take off early, I'll make it up tomorrow. No, you won't. That time's gone forever. Right. You know, if you're going to go out, if you quit early and where you only have 5, and you should be doing at least 10 a day, at least, and you say, I'll make it up tomorrow, well, you're lying. That's an untruth. Lying to yourself, even worse. And you're buying it. Obviously, if you're snacking it up, you're buying it, right? So you think, well, tomorrow I'll go out and I'll do 15 instead of 10 tomorrow. You can't make that up. Get the 10 today and do the 15 tomorrow. And once you know you do the 15, then do it every day. But don't deceive yourself, right? Others will deceive you. Don't deceive yourself. Let the truth set you free. You can never make up for lost time. Get it done. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. Again, yesterday's a mystery. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why I call it the present. Open that present today and celebrate.
Woo! Woo! Thank you, Bob. I always love that quote. And that's kind of like, well, that present. Well, what's today's present? Maybe you haven't figured it out or found it yet. That's kind of why Billy drives around smiling, because he's like, I don't know why I'm happy, but I am.
He's just got gas.
Yeah, but I'm gonna find a reason to be. Ski. So, and I have a story about surrounding yourself with good friends. I was scrolling through YouTube Shorts. I don't know if it's real or not, but it was still interesting. It kind of plays into today's topic. So, this guy's son was having a wedding. He was planning it. And he had 50 friends he wanted to invite, but he didn't want to invite them. He asked his dad to invite them. And so when the day of the wedding comes, only 5 of those 50 friends showed up. And the son was infuriated. Imagine if you wanted to invite 50 people, but only 5 came. Imagine how angry that son must have been. But this was the wisdom of the dad. And when the son talked to his dad, he's like, why only 5 of my friends came? What's going on? He said, son, I called each and every single one of your friends individually, and I said, hey, in 90 days, my son is in big trouble and he needs your help. Come to this specific time and location and to help him out. That's pretty wild. That shows that out of those 50, he had 5 real friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 real friends. That's amazing. That's what he's talking about. You gotta evaluate people's actions. People will, when times are good, people are going to encourage you. People are going to support you. But when times are rough, only the real friends, only the people who truly love and respect you will look out for you during those tough times. So he had 5 real friends. That kind of scares me, like, dang, how many people can I trust?
All of us.
All of you, exactly. Thank you, Brad.
I'll be there, John.
Thank you, Billy.
Got your rear.
Right on, right on. So, 90 days. Well, now I can't use that trick. So, surrounding yourself with those friends are super important. Because, like he was saying, they will support you. And sometimes you will be in that negative circle. Sometimes people are trapped in that negative circle and they're trying to remove themselves from that. And when they do have that positive change and when they do rise above, those same friends that were in that negative atmosphere, even though they were deceiving and said, oh, I'm all for you, I support you, the moment you have that success in your life, they'll tear you down like, what happened? You're not better than me. I was supposed to become manager, not you. Why is he manager and not me? What happened? What did he do? What did he do to deserve that? That should have been me.
Hater.
Hater. Hater's gonna hate. So he's surrounding yourself with the friends that will support you no matter what is hard to find. Trust is hard to find. But I feel like everyone's here is trustworthy. And with the compliance like I was talking about, it's not just about you, it's about the company. Because we have a month left with Prosper. We have a month left with most of our other ETCs. Excess is going to last a while, until about July, I believe. So let's end this month strong. Let's not have any more people lose logins. Let's run a clean business. Trainers today and these next few weeks. Don't cut corners. Show people how to do things right.
Yes.
We want to encourage those habits, some of those habits that we've lost over time due to bad training. And I'm not going to blame anyone. No one's at fault. It happens naturally. It happens naturally when something good is going on. So these trials and tribulations we're going through shows that things are good here. Success is not easy. Success is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many different things you got to go through. You got to go through risks, failures, rejection, all these different things. Success is just the tip of the iceberg. So this is building us up. Bobby talks about we start with 5 solid people and grew up to 70. Well, now we got 30 solid people. Imagine how much bigger we can get.
Right.
Let's go.
Woo!